The Return of the God of War. The President's Wife Spoils the Sky, the ultimate refreshing version. Changcheng, rainy night. Under the headquarters building of Su Group. Mud mixed with rain splashed. Su W. Anking was dressed in a neatly tailored black suit, standing on the steps, her fingertips white. Surrounding her, in front of her was Zhu Hu, the leader of the underground forces, Tiger Alliance, in Zhangcheng, followed by more than 20 outlaws holding steel pipes and machetes, and their arrogant laughter and scolding pierced the rain. Mr. Su, don't hold on. Zhu Hu played with the dagger at his waist, and gently picked Su W. Anking's chin with the tip of the knife. Hand over the official seal of the Su Group. Come with me, and I will guarantee you fine clothes and food for the rest of your life. Otherwise, today's building is your burial place. There were many onlookers around, some holding mobile phones to shoot, some whispering, and no one dared to step forward. Zhu Hu ran amok in Zhangcheng for 3 years, and even the police had a headache, and no one wanted to get into trouble. Su W. Aking's eyes flashed with a hint of despair, but she still straightened her back. Zhu Hu, I worked hard with my own hands, and I want me to hand over power and dream. Dreaming. Zhu Hu's face was ruthless, and he raised his hand to slap him. I think you don't know whether you are alive or dead. Snap. A crisp slap suddenly sounded. Not Zhu Hu hitting Su W. Anking, but a hand with clear bones grabbed Zhu Hu's wrist fiercely, as if it was about to crush his bones. Zhu Hu cried out in pain, turned his head suddenly, and crashed into a pair of cold and piercing eyes. The man standing in the rain, dressed in an old wash t-shirt, with military green cargo pants stained with mud spots, was as tall as a pine. It's Lin Chen. 5 years later, Su W. Anking thought he was dead. But at this moment he was standing in front of her, bathed in the rain, but his eyes were more ruthless than a blade that had quenched ice. Who are you? Dare to care about my tiger master? Zhu Hu was shocked and angry, and struggled desperately, but found that his wrist did not move at all. Lin Chen didn't look at him. His eyes fell on Su W. Anking. The cold under his eyes instantly melted into tenderness, and his voice was hoarse. W. Anking, I'm back. Su W. Anking was shocked. Tears burst instantly. She rushed over, hugged Lin Chen's waist, as if grabbing the life-saving driftwood. Lin Chen, are you alive? Great. That's great. 5 years ago, he sacrificed on the border battlefield in order to carry out a top-secret mission, and his bones were not even recovered. She relied on one breath to pull the Su Group, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, to the top of Zhangcheng from a newly graduated intern, just to wait for him to return to his hometown. Lin Chen gently patted her on the back, and while comforting her, her eyes became cold again. He let go of Zhu Hu's wrist and twisted his backhand. Click. The crisp sound of bone breakage was clearly audible. Zhu Hu let out a heart-nicking scream. The whole person knelt in the rain, and his wrists twisted at strange angles. The woman who dares to touch me. Lin Chen looked at him condescendingly. His voice was flat, but with a devastating murderous intent. You are tired of living. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. In the next second, 3 black shadows jumped out of the darkness, all strong men in black suits and strong figures, kneeling on one knee with a loud voice. Welcome to the Lord. These 3 people are the Shadow Guards, trained by Lin Chen himself, and they are the world's top security forces, and one person can rival 100 armies. Zhu Hu's face was as pale as paper. Looking at the flashing badge on the Shadow Guard's waist, he suddenly collapsed to the ground. That was the exclusive dark pattern of the Dragon Group. The Dragon Group is the most mysterious and terrifying special force in China, and the only one who can make the 3 Shadow Guards kneel on one knee is the supreme commander of the Dragon Group, the legendary Chinese god of war, who is in charge of 1,000,000 heroes and makes all countries fearful. God of war? Zhu Hu's voice trembled, and he rolled and crawled to beg for mercy. Lord Lin, I have eyes that do not recognize Mao Tai. Please spare my life. I don't dare anymore. Lin Chen didn't bother to talk nonsense to him, and said coldly to the Shadow Guard, the Tiger League has been entrenched in Zhangcheng for 3 years, oppressing the people, smuggling and trafficking drugs, and I have handed over the evidence to the police. From now on, the Tiger League will be removed from the list. Zhu Hu will be handed over to the police for disposal, and all assets involved in the case will be seized. Yes. The 2 Shadow Guards stepped forward, directly twisted Zhu Hu's arm and pressed him into the muddy water. Zhu Hu's screams were engulfed in rain, and the onlookers were stunned, looking at Lin Chen's eyes from fear to fanaticism. Who would have thought that this man in old clothes would turn out to be the legendary Chinese god of war? Lin Chen turned around, took off his coat, draped it on Su Wanking, wiped the rain and tears from her face, and was as gentle as to people. I have wronged you, and no one will dare to bully you again in the future. Su Wanking threw herself into his arms and cried even more fiercely, not because of fear, but because of the joy of losing and regaining. 3 days later, the old house of the Su family. At the birthday banquet of the old man of the Su family, almost all the people in Zhangcheng with heads and faces arrived. Su Wanking took Lin Chen's hand and walked into the banquet hall, and the audience was instantly quiet. Su Jianing, the eldest son of the Su family, Su Wanking's brother, took the lead in attacking, pointing at Lin Chen's nose and scolding Lin Chen. You dead man still dare to come back. You died outside 5 years ago. What are you doing when you come back now? Want to rely on our Su family? Su Wanking's mother-in-law, Zhang Siyuilan, also screamed. That's it? Are you a poor boy, worthy of our evening sunshine? If the old man hadn't been soft-hearted, you would have starved to death. Now you dare to appear at the birthday banquet. Hurry up and get out. Brother-in-law Su Hao was even more arrogant, holding a wine glass and smashing it at Lin Chen. Waste. Get out of here. The wine glass smashed on Lin Chen's shoulder, and the wine spilled all over his body, but Lin Chen didn't even blink. Su Wanking was trembling with anger and stood in front of Lin Chen. Brother, Mom, Su Hao. Lin Chen is not what you think he is. Wanking. Don't say it. Lin Chen gently pulled her, and a mocking smile curled up on the corner of his mouth. 5 years ago, I deliberately sacrificed in order to protect the Su family. Now that I am back, I want to get back what belongs to me, and I also want to protect my wife. As soon as he said this, the audience was in an uproar. Su Jianing's face changed. What nonsense are you talking about? HUSU family? You are a waste, and you deserve to say such things? Whether you deserve it or not, it's not up to you to decide. Lin Chen raised his hand and winked at the shadow guard. A shadow guard immediately stepped forward, handed a tablet to the Su family, and clicked on a document. Everyone, this is evidence that Su Jianing embezzled 50 million public funds from the Su group and colluded with Xu, who Chu smuggled 5 years ago. Zhang Siyuilan, who privately transferred the Su family's assets and purchased luxury goods. What? Su Jianing and Zhang Siyuilan's faces turned pale instantly, and they rushed over to grab the tablet. But they were stopped by the shadow guards. Lin Chen continued. 5 years ago, after I left, Su Jianing repeatedly joined forces with outsiders to suppress the Su group, trying to swallow the Su family's industry. I have evidence of these. He took out another document and threw it in front of the Su family. In addition, the title deed of the Su family's old house was handed over to me by the old man in the name of a gift, just to protect the Su family. Now, I want to take it back as a dowry for Wanking. You dream. Zhang Siyuilan screamed. That's the ancestral property of the Su family. Ancestral property? Lin Chen sneered. How did you treat Wanking back then? She was forced by you to marry me. And for 3 years, you scolded her, beat her, and used her as a tool. Now, she is my wife, the ancestral property of the Su family, and it is only natural to give it to her. At this time, a respected old man from the Su family stood up, looked at Su Jianing and his wife, and said in a deep voice, Jianing, Siyuilan, you are too much. Mr. Lin is Wanking's husband and the benefactor of the Su family. What you have done is not worthy of being a member of the Su family. The old man made the final decision, and the other elders echoed it. Su Jianing and Zhang Siyuilan were limp on the chair, their faces ashen. Su Hao saw that the situation was wrong and wanted to sneak away, but was stopped by Lin Chen. Su Hao, you stole Wanking's design raft 5 years ago and sold it to a competitor, causing Su to lose tens of millions. Should this account be settled? Su Hao's legs went weak and he knelt directly on the ground. Lord Lin, I was wrong. I don't dare anymore. Please spare me. The audience was silent, and no one expected that these moths of the Su family would do so many dirty things. Lin Chen didn't bother to look at them again, and said to the shadow guard, "Transfer Su Jianing, Shang Si Yu Ilan, and Su Hao to the judiciary and deal with them, according to the law." The Su family's property was taken over by W. Anking. Yes. A shadow guard stepped forward and directly took the three of them out. Su W. Anking looked at Lin Chen, her eyes full of admiration and love. This man not only saved her, but also cleared all obstacles for her, allowing her to completely get rid of the control of the Su family. At the birthday banquet, everyone toasted Lin Chen and Su W. Anking, and the compliments were endless. Lin Chen hugged Su W. Anking's waist and responded gently. The domineering energy in his eyes all converged, leaving only pampering. A week later, the business world in Zhongcheng changed abruptly. Su Group suddenly announced that it will reach a strategic cooperation with the world's top technology giant, Xingta Group, which injected 10 billion yuan into Su's shares and opened all its core technical resources to Su's family. As soon as this news came out, the entire Zhongcheng business community was shaken. Xingta Group is a business empire founded by Lin Chen, with a market value of trillions of yuan. Controlling the world's core technology, and even dignitaries from all over the world have to respect it. Su's Group is just a local enterprise in Zhongcheng, and it is simply a step to get the capital injection of Xingta Group. Several companies that once looked down on Su couldn't sit still. Among them, Xiao Kun, chairman of the Hengyu Group, which ranks second in Zhongcheng, was one of the masterminds behind the joint suppression of Su Hao that year. When he learned the news, he was so angry that he smashed the teacup in the office. Lin Chen? That god of war? Xiao Kun's face was hideous. He thought he could cover the sky with one hand when he came back. My Hengyu Group has been rooted in Zhongcheng for 10 years, and its resources are 10 times stronger than that of Su's. I don't believe it. He can overwhelm me. Xiao Kun immediately contacted several other companies in Zhongcheng to form an alliance, preparing to jointly suppress Su's and prevent the cooperation between Su's and Xingta Group. But he didn't expect that his alliance had suffered a series of fatal blows less than 24 hours after its formation. The core supply chain of Hengyu Group was suddenly cut off by Xingta Group. Raw materials could not enter the site, and the production line was completely paralyzed. Hengyu's overseas cooperation project was directly stopped by Xingta Group, and the liquidated damages were as high as billions. Even Hengyu's stock plummeted by 50 on the opening day, and its market value evaporated by nearly 10 billion. Xiao Kun panicked and wanted to find a relationship to intercede, but found that all channels were blocked. Whether it was Zhongcheng's government departments or overseas partners, they could not avoid him. Who the hell is targeting me? Xiao Kun sat paralyzed in his office chair, cold all over. His assistant walked in trembling lie, "Chairman, down." Yes. It was the order of the Xingta Group, and the order given by the Forest Lord himself. Xiao Kun was struck by lightning and collapsed to the ground. He finally understood that Lin Chen was not simply returning, but to completely control Zhongcheng's business pattern. His alliance, in front of Lin Chen, was nothing more than a vulnerable ant. At the same time, Su's stock price soared, tripling its market value in just 3 days, directly surpassing Hengyu Group and becoming the first enterprise in Zhongcheng. Su W. Anking sat in the office, looking at the constantly beating stock price curve, holding the cooperation agreement handed over by Lin Chen in her hand, her eyes flushed. "Lin Chen, you actually used all the resources of Xingta Group for me." Lin Chen sat next to her, held her hand, and said gently, "Everything I do is to protect you. If the Hengyu Alliance wants to move my wife and Su, it is to seek a dead end." He raised his hand and imprinted a kiss on Su W. Anking's forehead. "In the future, the sky of Zhongcheng will be supported by us together." In the afternoon of the same day, Xiao Kun personally came to the headquarters of Su Group with all his assets, knelt in front of Lin Chen and Su W. Anking, and cried bitterly and begged for mercy. "Lord Lin, Mr. Su, I was wrong. I shouldn't join forces with Su Hao to suppress the Su family. Please spare my life. I am willing to donate all the assets of Hengyu Group to Su." Lin Chen looked at him and said lightly, "You can spare me, but you have to remember that in Zhongcheng, never provoke people who shouldn't provoke." Xiao Kun hurriedly kowtowed in gratitude and left in despair. The employees of Su's group, looking at the scene in front of them, their admiration for Lin Chen and Su W. Anking reached its peak. They knew that the glory of the Su family had just begun. After Su's group reached the top of Zhongcheng, Su W. Anking's fame was completely launched, not only in the business world, but also in the entertainment industry and politics. Among them, the craziest suitor is Liu Xiaoyu, the heir to a wealthy family in Beijing. Liu Xiaoyu is handsome and has a prominent family background. And at a commercial cocktail party, he fell in love with Su W. Anking at first sight. After learning that Su W. Anking had a husband, he still did not give up, showed his love in a high-profile manner many times, and even made a bold statement that he would spend hundreds of billions to buy the Su Group, so that Su W. Anking would leave Lin Chen and go with him. At the cocktail party, Liu Xiaoyu walked up to Su W. Anking with a wine glass, and his tone was arrogant. "Mr. Su, Lin Chen is just a retired god of war, and he has no power. If you follow him, you will be a god of war lady at most. But follow me, you can become the mistress of the capital's wealthy families and enjoy endless glory and wealth." The people around them coaxed and wanted to see Lin Chen's jokes. Liu Xiaoyu's family background was not comparable to Lin Chen. Su W. Anking was about to refuse, but Lin Chen had already walked to her, protected her behind him, and looked at Liu Xiaoyu with cold eyes. "Liu Xiaoyu." Lin Chen's voice was not loud, but with a terrifying coercion. "My woman, it's not your turn to point fingers." Liu Xiaoyu smiled disapprovingly. "Lin Chen, don't be too arrogant. The Liu family in the capital is not something you can afford to mess with." "Can't afford to mess with it," Lin Chen sneered, took out his mobile phone, and dialed a number. "Check for me. Is the Liu family in the capital illegal? The 3 mineral bases overseas. Also, Liu Xiaoyu, the crown prince of the Liu family, is suspected of smuggling luxury goods, and I have collected the evidence." On the other end of the phone, a respectful response immediately came. "Lord, it has been verified, and it will be dealt with immediately." Liu Xiaoyu's face changed suddenly. He didn't expect that Lin Chen could even feel the details of the Liu family so clearly. Lin Chen hung up the phone and said to Liu Xiaoyu, "Within 3 days you will receive a punishment notice from the Liu family. In addition, if you dare to get one step closer to W. Anking, I don't mind letting you and the Liu family be removed from the capital." Liu Xiaoyu trembled all over, no longer dared to be arrogant, and ran away in despair. The people around were stunned. No one expected that Lin Chen would even dare to move the wealthy families in the capital, and his strength would be so terrifying. Afterwards, Su W. Anking looked at Lin Chen and asked with a smile, "Why do you even know about the Liu family?" Lin Chen rubbed her hair and said gently, "As long as it is someone who threatens you, no matter where he is, I can find out." He paused and continued, "W. Anking, I know you don't care about glory and wealth, but I want to give you the best. I will give you everything you want. If you don't want it, I'll block it for you." Su W. Anking threw herself into his arms and smiled so hard that her eyebrows curled. "I just want you." 3 days later, Liu Xiaoyu was indeed deprived of his heir status by the Liu family and expelled from the family. And the Liu family's mineral base was also seized and faced a huge fine. Liu Xiaoyu was completely reduced to a laughingstock and never dared to appear in front of Su W. Anking again. And the relationship between Lin Chen and Su W. Anking has become deeper and deeper, and the protection and companionship again and again. Half a year later, Zhongcheng ushered in a wedding of the century that caused a sensation across the country. Lin Chen and Su W. Anking's wedding was held in a private bay in Zhongcheng, and the scene was luxuriously unromantic, but also warm. Celebrities and dignitaries from all walks of life around the world came to attend the wedding, including senior executives of Xinta Group, senior executives of Dragon Group, and envoys from various countries in China. The wedding scene is star-studded and comparable to an international ceremony. Lin Chen wore a customized white suit, held Su W. Anking's hand, and walked to the wedding stage step by step. Su W. Anking was wearing a white wedding dress, incredibly beautiful with a happy smile on her face. When the pastor asked, "Do you want to marry Su W. Anking? No matter whether you are poor or rich, healthy or sick, you will always love and protect her." Lin Chen looked into Su W. Anking's eyes and solemnly replied, "I do." Su W. Anking nodded tearfully. "I do." The moment the ring was exchanged, Lin Chen lowered his head and imprinted an affectionate kiss on Su W. Anking's lips. The audience burst into thunderous applause. At the wedding, Lin Chen announced in public, "From today onwards, all my Lin Chen's assets will be given to W. Anking. In my life, Lin Chen only favored W Yanking. Whoever dares to touch her will touch me, Lin Chen, and I will make him pay a heavy price. The words fell, and the audience boiled again. Who would have thought that Lin Chen, who was once regarded as a waste by the Su family and looked down upon by everyone, would now become a god of war who is in charge of $1 trillion business empire and holds the military power of China, and he will be so affectionate to his wife. Su W Wanking looked at Lin Chen. Tears fell again, but they were all tears of happiness. After the wedding, Lin Chen took Su W Wanking on a private jet and went to the Maldives for his honeymoon. At the beach, Lin Chen hugged Su W Wanking from behind and said softly, "W Wanking, I owe you before, and I will make up for it with my life in the future. Every day in the future, I will be by your side and protect you." Su W Wanking leaned into his arms, looked at the blue sea, and said with a smile, "With you, it is the best future."